It has come once more, as promised. You need not watch the original Duos video to understand this one, but you may enjoy it afterwards. That being said, in Warhammer 40k, the Space Marines are heralded as the Emperor's Angels, but you and I know that the Astartes are a mere scalpel compared to the hammer that is the Imperial Guard. So much of this video has been driven by your viewer feedback on the last one, so let us once again look at some of the greatest combos of Mortal and Space Marine the universe could bring together. But first, I want to quickly talk about the sponsor of today's video. Star Trek has always been one of my favourite sci-fi settings. I stayed up late at night with my father for years enjoying the adventures of the various crews, so I am thrilled to take this opportunity to bring you into their universe with today's sponsor. Star Trek Fleet Command lets you jump into the epic journeys of various Star Trek legends, and create your own. Build your fleet, forge alliances, and explore a galaxy full of strategy, conflict, and discovery. Available now on desktop and mobile. Use the link in the description or scan my QR code to download Star Trek Fleet Command for free right now. Start as a rookie commander, build your starbase, assemble your crew, and face off against familiar factions across space. Stick to your main missions, knock out your dailies, upgrade your ops center early, and manage your Latinum wisely. And trust me, join alliances as fast as you can, the bonuses are worth it. The Wrath of Karnak has just arrived. Unlock the USS Reliant and face new challenges, stronger enemies, and game-changing rewards. The first animated short for Star Trek Fleet Command, Maya, has launched. An exciting reimagining of your first mission, brought to life by LeVar Burton as Geordie LaForge. Written by Brian Laylis, it's a bold new take that captures the heart and adventure of Star Trek. But there's more. Use promo code KhanRules by July 31st and get Officer Kirk unlocked for free. Don't forget, use my link or scan the QR code to download now. To start off, we have none other than two factions who are known for their bespoke weaponry and love of family. The Salamanders and the Vostroyan Firstborn. The Salamanders are one of the rare Space Marine chapters that actually care about regular people. For all their superhuman strength, they're deeply tied to their homeworld of Nocturne, and regularly return to visit their families and descendants. They never forget where they come from. We know because of various sources such as the 8th edition Salamanders Codex supplement that they're fiercely protective of civilians and mortal allies, always prioritizing protecting the defenseless, in battle and in philosophy, mirroring the ideals of their Primarch, Vulcan. Thanks to pretty much every Space Marine codex, we're told that on the battlefield they prefer close-range brutality, melters, flamers, and thunderhammers, anything that lets them get close up and personal. Index Astartes 4 tells us that they're loaded with master-crafted relics, far more than most chapters. The Salamanders create masterwork weapons as a part of their culture, just like doing so was a part of Vulcan's life. The Vostroyan Firstborn are a throwback even by Warhammer standards, with some of the greatest John Blanche artworks being attributed to them. Every soldier is a firstborn son or daughter, sworn to honor their families who value military service above all else. We know from the firstborn daughter in the Inferno anthology that both noble and peasant families live and breathe this tradition, and their weapons reflect that legacy. Thanks to the 5th edition Imperial Guard Codex, we know many Vostroyan weapons are ancient, master-crafted relics, usually worth infinitely more than the soldier carrying them. On the battlefield, they make great use of keeping their foes at range. According to White Dwarf 317, they favor plasma guns, heavy bolters, and long-barreled lasguns, laying down withering fire from a distance while their enemies scramble to close the gap. They're old school, disciplined, and every kill they make is one more honor they bring back to their family name. On paper, the Salamanders and the Vostroyan Firstborn might seem pretty different. Astartes' fire and fury versus old-world Imperial Guard discipline. But when you really look at it, these two are perfect partners. They're both family-orientated forces, driven by legacy, honor, and the weight of tradition. That mutual respect for heritage would make them trust each other faster than most other Astartes Guard pairings. The Vostroyans bring long-range firepower, plasma volleys, heavy bolter nests, and disciplined lasgun lines. They soften up the enemy before the Salamanders even hit the front line. And once they do, the Sons of Vulcan crash in with melter blasts, flamers, and thunderhammers, and all manner of master-crafted melee violence, wrecking anything that survived the initial bombardment. It's a 1-2 punch of surgical firepower and brutal close-quarters assaults. What really makes them click, though, is their shared values. Both sides fight not just for victory, but for the honor of their families and their homeworlds. They both treat their weapons like sacred heirlooms. Their weapons are sacred heirlooms, maintaining and passing them down through generations. You could easily see Salamanders and Vostroyan officers swapping stories about their forged craft and relics between campaigns. And finally, The Salamanders' well-known protectiveness fits perfectly with the Vostroyan sense of duty. The Salamanders wouldn't see them as expendable guardsmen, they'd see them as brothers in arms worth defending. Together they form a rare kind of partnership in 40k, one built on mutual respect, overlapping strengths, and a shared refusal to fail the families they fight for.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Next up on our list, we have to talk about the Adeptus Astartes and the Astra Militarum's respective kleptomaniacs, the Blood Ravens, and the Savlar Chemdogs. The Blood Ravens are fan-favourite Space Marines for a reason. Thanks to the Dawn of War games, we've watched them be introduced as nobodies in 2004, and now they've ascended to meme-tier legends. And while the joke's always been that they acquire relics from other forces, it's not baseless. In Dawn of War 2, they're somehow in possession of Forgebreaker, the master-crafted Thunderhammer of Perturabo, Primarch of the Iron Warriors. And that's not all either. They get access to Grey Knight and Custodes equipment too, not to mention relics from innumerable other Space Marine chapters. But beyond the memes, the Blood Ravens are extremely competent, particularly in wide open warfare, something we see again and again across the Dawn of War series. They've got a knack for relic hunting, psychic warfare, and being wherever the plot needs them to be. There's mystery in their gene seed, and how people do love to whisper Thousand Suns, but one thing's certain, they're fearless and adaptable. The Savlar Chemdogs are the Imperium's idea of giving criminals a second chance, which in this case means arming them with whatever they haven't already stolen. A penal regiment made up of thieves, smugglers, and reprobates. As per the 3rd edition Imperial Guard Codex, the Chemdogs are literally promised battlefield loot as payment, and they take that deal seriously. They'll steal anything not nailed to the ground, and if it is nailed to the ground, they'll steal the nails too. We know again from the same codex that most of their gear isn't even standard issue. It's stolen from allies, looted off corpses, or reclaimed during downtime. Despite their kleptomania, we know from Chapter Approved 2003 that they're brutally effective in tight enclosed battlefields like hive cities and underhives. They wear chem breathers loaded with combat drugs, making them basically fearless. They've got commissars, sure, but in my opinion, they're mostly to keep them from liberating the Vox unit mid-firefight. On paper, the Blood Ravens and the Savlar Chemdogs look like a Warhammer comedy sketch waiting to happen, but hear me out. The combo works. It's thieves helping thieves, relic hoarders and loot goblins united in their holy mission of liberating every shiny object not bolted to the floor. But beneath the meme-worthy criminal synergy, there's genuine battlefield logic here too. The Blood Ravens, as seen across the Dawn of War games, excel in large open-field conflicts. They're precise, mobile, and strike hard where the players need them. The Chemdogs? Total opposite. Thanks to Chapter Approved 2003 again, we know they thrive in cramped urban nightmares, just like the underhives of Savlar where they originate, sublevels and tight corridors where their aggression and chem-fueled fearlessness shines. Together, they cover each other's blind spots. And speaking of fearlessness, both forces are practically immune to hesitation in a lore and meta sense. The Chemdogs have drugs in their lungs and commissars at their backs. The Blood Ravens, meanwhile, are powered by player-controlled bravado and a complete disregard for Astartes' life expectancy. You send them into a death trap and they say affirmative. That shared, full-send mentality makes them surprisingly effective in any kind of meat grinder. Thematically, they're comedy gold. The Blood Ravens will reclaim relics from the enemy, while the Chemdogs will steal them from the Blood Ravens during lunch break. It's chaos. It's criminal. It's kind of beautiful, actually. And let's be honest, if this duo ever deployed together, the real loser wouldn't be the enemy. It'd be the supply depot. This next one I was so close to putting in the original video, because it's absolutely one of my favorites. One of those entries in the first video centered around the concept of Space Marines exploiting mortals. Well, let's just say that one doesn't hold a candle to this one. The Marines Malevolent, and the Penal Legions. If you're looking for a chapter that plays nice with others, the Marines Malevolent aren't it. These Marines are brutal, aggressive, and couldn't care less about collateral damage. We know from Bitter Salvage that they've got a nasty history with the Salamanders, who we spoke about earlier, mostly because they treat civilian casualties like background noise. As per Codex Armageddon in the Third War for Armageddon, they preferred leveling battlefields with artillery before even stepping foot on them. Their reputation's so bad that the 5th edition Space Marine Codex says they've been investigated by the Inquisition for excessive disregard for human life. Even other Astartes think they go too far. The Penal Legions are the Imperium solution to overcrowded prisons. Slap an explosive collar on the worst of the worst and point them at the enemy. Whilst the Savlar Chemdogs are a Penal Legion, they're very much an exception to the rule. Most penal legions are just nameless hordes. According to the Warhammer 40,000 compendium, most of these misbegotten souls aren't anything close to soldiery. They're warm bodies sent to die. White Dwarf 110 even describes some as being prepped for mass detonation. Not grimdark enough? Codex Imperialis adds that many of these undesirables in the legions aren't even criminals, just abhumans, mutants, or anyone not human enough. They're endless, expendable, desperate, and entirely without a choice. The Marines Malevolent and the Penal legions are a match made in hell, served with an absolute indifference towards human life. It's not a feel-good team-up, it's the nightmare of millions turned practical solution. The Marines Malevolent love artillery, shock assaults, and wiping out anything in their way. And the Penal legions? Well, they're designed to be in the way. We know from Codex Armageddon that the Marines Malevolent don't flinch at flattening entire city sectors to kill a few orcs. So imagine what they do with a disposable army of shock troops at their fingertips. Penal legionaries make perfect meat shields, tossed into kill zones, drawing fire, flushing out ambushes, triggering traps. The Marines Malevolent wouldn't just accept the casualties, they'd plan around them. And weirdly, or sadly, it would work. You don't need morale or cohesion when your plan is sacrifice everything and roll over the ashes. Penal legions are relentless, expendable, and terrifyingly useful when paired with someone who views them as ammunition instead of men. This combo isn't about victory at a cost, it's about victory no matter the cost. Even if that cost is tens of thousands of bodies the chapter won't even bother counting. A horrifying synergy, but in the grim darkness of the far-flung future, it's effective. And that's all the Marines Malevolent care about. This next one is another stroke of genius from a handful of commenters from the last video. Maybe not necessarily the strongest fighting force, but there are few pairings of Space Marine and Guardsmen that are as thematically well aligned as these two. The Lamenters and the Afriel strain regiments. The Lamenters might be the most tragically noble chapter in all of 40k, born from the infamous Cursed Founding. According to Imperial Armor Volume 9, they were one of the few that didn't turn out visibly unstable or mutated, but they were still shunned just for existing. These guys try. Like, they really try. They fought for the Imperium with courage and sacrifice, but their luck is legendarily awful. Deathwatch Rites of Battle tells us their future is basically one long grim tarot reading of despair. After Badab, they were forgiven and sent on a penitent crusade, which, as per the 5th edition Tyranids Codex, promptly threw them into Highfleet Kraken and nearly wiped them out. Even during the devastation of Baal, they refused the call, but not out of cowardice, but because they barely existed anymore. They were down to only a handful of half-dead companies. If you took the DNA of the Imperium's greatest heroes, cloned it, and made an army from it, you'd get the Afriel strain regiments. Sounds perfect, right? Liber Xeneologist says they're faster, smarter, stronger than your average guardsman. And White Dwarf 303 says they're built using the genetic blueprints of legends like Lord Solar Macarius. But here's the twist. They are cursed with absurd levels of bad luck. Every time they're deployed, it goes great at first, but then everything spirals into disaster. No one knows why. Other regiments can't stand them, can't stand to be around them. The universe itself just seems to hate them. And with their snow-white skin, white hair, colourless white eyes, the Afriels look like they just walked out of a horror movie. They're literally built to be heroes, and fated to be hated and doomed. But let's be honest, this isn't a functionally good combo, but it's a thematically great one. And as previously mentioned, it's one that was extremely favoured in the comments from the last video. The Lamenters and the Afriel strain regiments are like a cursed friendship born of good intent and misfortune. Both were made with the highest ideals: honour, excellence, heroism, and both are punished for it every single time. Pair them together and you get a combo so ill-fated even the Chaos Gods want no part of it. But thematically, they're perfect. It's two forces who never asked for anything, both created from bizarre, unexplained experiments. They just want to serve humanity, and the galaxy kicks them in the teeth for it, again and again. So here's to the doomed. There's few mortal forces that can rip and tear like Space Marines. So it's only fitting that we should pair said force with a chapter that finds themselves drenched in blood and death more than almost all of their brothers and cousins. I'm of course talking about the Flesh Tearers and the Catachan Jungle Fighters. The Flesh Tearers are the Blood Angels if you stripped out all of the nobility and pumped in pure rage. They're hyper-violent, even by Space Marine standards. Nobody massacres the foes of man in close quarters quite like they do. Among all the Blood Angel success chapters, the Flesh Tearers stand out for their sheer brutality. After the Horus Heresy, they were briefly fleet-based, but we know from the Flesh of Cretacia that their first chapter master, Nicaea Amit, found a home on the world of Cretacia, a death world in all but name, teeming with literal mega dinosaurs. Amit saw the primitive, brutal humans surviving there and said, "Yes, these are my people." The result? A chapter of warriors roared from a world where everything is trying to kill you 24/7. Are they unstable? Yeah. Dangerous? Also yeah. But if you're looking to break an enemy line wide open with blood and fury, no one's better suited for it. The Catachan jungle fighters are the definition of survival of the fittest. Their homeworld is so lethal, it makes most death worlds look like garden planets. We're talking carnivorous plants, venomous everything, and creatures that could eat a sentinel walker for breakfast. There are entire books on how dangerous Catachan is. Honestly, I might just have to make a whole video on just that. Let us know in the comments down below if you want a video on what makes Catachan so brutal. The Catachan jungle fighters aren't just guardsmen, they're jungle warfare specialists, survivalists, and some of the best mortal combatants in the Imperium. The 8th edition Imperial Guard Codex gives us an incredible moment, where Rabute Gilliman and his Indomitus fleet rushes to Catachan's aid, as a demonic incursion caused by the opening of the Cicatrix Maledictum threatened to annihilate the world. Except when the Primarch arrived, he arrived to find the locals had already handled it. Alone. The Catachans are hardwired for combat. They don't panic, they don't back down, and they definitely don't need handholding. Pairing the Flesh Terrors with the Catachan jungle fighters sounds like throwing a grenade into a volcano. But hear me out. This might be one of the most effective combos the Imperium could field. Let's start with their combat roles. Flesh Terrors charge in head first, smashing enemy lines with unmatched close combat ferocity. They're a shockwave of violence. But they're also chaotic, and in a regular guard regiment, that might be disaster. Catachans, though? They're specialists in close-terrain warfare. They flank, they sabotage, they ambush while the Flesh Terrors hit the front like a wrecking ball. Culturally, they match too. Both come from flesh worlds that chew out all but the strongest. Both respect raw strength, and both kill monsters. This is the anti-Tyrannid Dream Team, and the anti-Eldar Exodite team with their dinosaurs too. Both forces grew up fighting things with claws, scales, and way too many teeth. Yes, the Flesh Terrors have a reputation for accidentally killing allies, but the Catachans? They're the one force that might actually keep up with them. It's not subtle, it's not safe, but God help whatever poor alien ends up on the receiving end of it. A slightly unexpected entry on this list, but one that I've relished reading and writing about, as this happens to be one of the most criminally underrated chapters in the setting, that being the Novamarines, who I'm comboing with what isn't exactly a guard regiment, but a most lethal mortal force nonetheless, the Voidsmen. The Novamarines are a fleet-based chapter known for their discipline, heritage, and being one of the foremost Astartes authorities on the Halo stars. As detailed in Imperial Armor Volume 9, The Badab War, they are one of only 2 chapters in the entire Adeptus Astartes with written proof of having enough Terminator armor to fully equip all 100 veterans of their first company. The other being none other than the Dark Angels and their infamous Deathwing. The Novamarines' operational history speaks volumes. They were instrumental during the Badab War, launched a full assault on the Death of Integrity Space Hulk to purge Gene Stealers, and defended Star Fort Galatan from a Death Guard assault at the turn of the millennium, not to mention their presence in the Halo stars. The Novamarines paint a picture of a chapter that excels in ship-to-ship combat, boarding actions, and brutal, confined space engagements. Now, as I mentioned, the Voidsmen aren't a guard regiment per se, but don't let that fool you. They're elite naval combatants. These are the mortal specialists you call when you need someone to clear a corridor, breach a bulkhead, or sweep a space hulk. According to Codex Elucidian Starstriders, they're often seconded by inquisitors and rogue traders, and are kitted out with gear most guard units would never get to see. Kill Team Into the Dark shows them wielding shotguns, rotary cannons, and all sorts of close-quarters tools of violence. They might not be superhuman, but when it comes to boarding actions, they are second only to Space Marines. In fact, when it comes to boarding actions or clearing space hulks, this combo is as lethal as it gets. Voidsmen specialize in initial breaches, moving quickly through cramped corridors, securing footholds, and navigating the confusing internal structure of derelict vessels. They're fast, methodical, and experienced in void conditions that most mortal troops wouldn't even begin to know how to survive in. But the moment resistance stiffens or enemy Xenos starts swarming, the Novamarines bring their full weight to bear. Their first company equipped in their pristine Terminator armor can teleport directly into combat, turning the tide in an instant. It's a rare but perfect pairing. The mortals take point, and the Astartes follow with overwhelming force. It's a really fun example of a combo where the mortals take point, and the Astartes come in to supply hard-hitting backup, as opposed to the other way around. Together, they'd scour any space hulk or starfort, leaving nothing but clean corridors and spent shells. It is time for the immovable object. The Imperial Fists and the Mordian Iron Guard. The Imperial Fists are the epitome of defensive warfare in the Adeptus Astartes. Their doctrine and temperament was cemented during the Siege of Terra and has remained almost unchanged for 10 millennia. Their refusal to retreat, even in the face of overwhelming odds, is legendary. But as the 10th edition Space Marine Codex notes, they've suffered avoidable losses simply because withdrawal was never considered. Victory for the Fists often comes with a high price. Yet when the Imperium needs a position held at all costs, it's the Imperial Fists who are called. They endure, they fortify, and they do not yield. The Mordian Iron Guard are known for their unmatched discipline and precision. Their regiments fight in flawless formations, delivering synchronized volleys of lasgun fire with bayonets fixed, as detailed in the 5th edition Imperial Guard Codex. Only those demonstrating absolute control and discipline are permitted to enter into their ranks. According to the 10th edition Imperial Guard Codex, their effectiveness in defensive warfare is further bolstered by disciplined artillery and coordination. Mordians do not break ranks. Mordians do not falter. Together, the Imperial Fists and the Mordian Iron Guard form an unshakable defensive force. The Sons of Rogel Dawn serve as an immovable core, fortified, armoured, and resolute, while the Mordians form a disciplined firing line around them, amplifying defences with precise, concentrated fire. Both forces embody endurance and duty above all else. There's no improvisation, no retreat, just structured, methodical resistance. It may not be dynamic, but when you're defending something the Imperium cannot afford to lose, the reliability and synergy of this duo is second to none. This duo is the immovable object. This one might take a few of you by surprise. Two of the most visually awesome forces for their respective factions, yet both criminally underrepresented. The Silver Skulls chapter and the Maccabian Jannissaries. The Silver Skulls are a bit of a mystery. While not officially confirmed, they've long been rumoured, albeit by fans, to be descended from the Iron Warriors, specifically from the gene lineage of Barabbas Dantioch, the legendary loyalist Iron Warrior who defied his traitor Primarch, Perturabo. Dantioch would go on to become the closest friend of the legendary Imperial Fist, Alexis Pollux, who himself went on to found the equally legendary Crimson Fists chapter. If this gene lineage is true, then that legacy shows. We know from various short stories that the Silver Skulls love siege warfare, but what really sets them apart is their use of prognosticators, librarians who serve not just as psychics, but as diviners. As detailed in Deathwatch Honor the Chapter, these warriors use the Emperor's Tarot and runestones to guide the chapter's decisions in battle. The Silver Skulls are a deeply superstitious chapter. The Maccabian Jannissaries are a regiment of devout warriors drawn from the shrine world of Maccabeus Quintus. According to the Only War Core rulebook, these soldiers view their military service as a sacred pilgrimage, a way to enact the Emperor's divine will through warfare. Their discipline is absolute, their faith unshakable. Superstition and symbolism dominate their worldview. Trained to fight in perfect formation, they march into battle with the calm of those who already see themselves as martyrs. For the Janissaries, sacrifice is not a possibility, it's a goal. The Silver Skulls and the Maccabian Janissaries form a force united not just by battlefield compatibility, but by a shared spiritual conviction. While the Silver Skulls rely on their prognosticators to divine the future, the Janissaries march under the belief that their fate is already written in the Emperor's design. This common reverence for destiny, one analytical, the other devotional, creates a unique cohesion. The Skulls provide firepower, while the Janissaries press forward with disciplined, unwavering zeal. Both forces operate with complete acceptance of loss, making them ideally suited for prolonged sieges or battles of attrition, where resilience is paramount. Just like with our first video, we wanted to get a little silly with our final two entries. Whilst neither of these next two will include Loyalist Guard regiments, they are still, mostly, mortal fighting forces that have great thematic and battlefield synergy regardless. The first of which being the Fire Angel Space Marine chapter and the Sisters of Battle. The Fire Angels are a chapter defined by austerity, orthodoxy, and an unrelenting faith in the Emperor. As described in Imperial Armor Volume 9, they are among the most zealously religious of all Space Marines, known for their ritual purity and rigid interpretation of the Codex Astartes. Though they acknowledge Rabute Guilliman as their Genesire, they do not revere him at all, reserving all spiritual devotion solely for the Emperor, whom they considered the one true divine authority. This rejection of misplaced idolatry places them ideologically closer to the ecclesiarchy than to many of their fellow Astartes. According to Deathwatch Honor the Chapter, the Fire Angels have worked alongside the Adeptus Sororitas very often. Their methodical doctrine, combined with unwavering faith, allows them to wage war not just as soldiers, but as sacred instruments of divine will. The Adeptus Sororitas are the Ecclesiarchy's chosen weapon. Every Sister of Battle is a warrior saint in the making, trained from youth to see war as a divine service. While they somewhat mirror the Astartes in arms and armor, their identity is wholly distinct, rooted in scripture, martyrdom, and the living word of the Imperial cult. As noted throughout ecclesiarchal texts and codices, their operations are shaped by prayer, ritual, and an unwavering certainty in the Emperor's providence. Heresy, witchcraft, apostasy, none are tolerated. The thought of none are tolerated. The Sisters' presence on the battlefield is both militaristic and symbolic, a living reminder that faith is not passive. It acts, it burns, it destroys the impure without compromise. Whether deploying in their cathedral-like transports or advancing beneath banners of fire and gold, the Sisters of Battle do not waver. They sanctify every bullet, every flame, and every sacrifice. The union of the Fire Angels and the Sororitas is not a conventional military alliance. It's more like a convergence of sacred purpose. Both are defined by absolute devotion to the Emperor, untainted by reverence for any other authority, including Guilliman or the High Lords. Their shared theological severity and doctrinal purity foster a rare synergy between Astartes and the Ecclesiarchy's warriors. Where the Sisters of Battle bring massed holy fire, the Fire Angels contribute Astartes' precision and martial clarity. Each enhances the other's role. The Sisters ignite the battlefield in divine wrath, while the Fire Angels maintain discipline, anchored to their conservative interpretation of the Codex Astartes. Together, their campaigns become processions of judgment, where every engagement, every action is sacred, and every enemy is a blasphemer. This isn't just battlefield cooperation, it's theological alignment, in prayer, in fire, and in the Emperor's name. We are down to our final entry on this list, and I wasn't going to do this one. I really wasn't. But my god, you guys commented this over and over again. I have received so many DMs about this combo. So, brothers and sisters, take a step outside of the realm of canon with me for just a moment, as we look at the Iron Warriors Chaos Warband and the traitor Death Korps of Krieg. The Iron Warriors stand unrivaled in the realm of siege warfare, as detailed in the very first Index Astartes all the way to the 10th edition Codex Chaos Space Marines. They specialize in constructing impregnable fortifications and coordinating precise artillery bombardments before unleashing their armored war engines, Predators, Land Raiders, Vindicators, Demon engines. They deploy infiltration teams to disable enemy defenses. These units sow disruption, sever communications, and weaken structural integrity. Their siege doctrine is systematic, ruthless, and meticulously executed. After the Horus Heresy, the brutality of Perturabo's scions only intensified. They exact tithes through conquest, and transform fortresses into weapons of chaotic terror. Honor holds no place in their strategies. Not anymore. They exist solely to crush their foes. Let us now imagine the Death Korps of Krieg aligned with Chaos. Anything that defines their loyalty now exists with an equal and opposite loyalty to the Dark Pantheon and the Lord of Iron, though their disciplined core remains completely intact. From Imperial Armor Volume 5, Siege of Ranks, we understand that Krieg measures victories by enduring longer than the adversary. If your resolve to die exceeds your enemy's will, triumph is assured. Their Death Riders conduct sacrificial reconnaissance in no man's land. They eschew chimeras in favor of heavily armored Gorgons and more agile command vehicles. Add to this their sanctioned Scryers, a unique band of psykers introduced to us through Warhammer 40k Darktide, who discern enemy movements beyond conventional detection, guiding operational commanders to victory with their warp-born clairvoyance. This unlikely alliance is much more than a meme. It represents a terrifying war doctrine. The Iron Warriors engineer the battlefield. Given time, they conceal massed fortifications, artillery nests, trap networks. Their approach is methodical, anticipating siege phases in advance. The Chaos Core of Krieg's doctrine of attritional victory complements the Iron Warriors' need for time and sacrifice. The Death Riders breach forward lines to destabilize defenses, allowing frontline units transported by Gorgons or deployed by Centaurs to exploit vulnerabilities. With the defenses compromised, artillery and armored columns follow, completing the encirclement. Each phase is practiced, deliberate, and supported by a grim promise: advance, regardless of cost. The inclusion of scryers, corrupted Krieg psykers, adds an unanticipatable layer. These individuals perceive weak points beyond the material, synchronizing the Iron Warriors' engineering assets with real-time battlefield intelligence. Imagine the coordination: psyker-guided artillery strikes, coupled with infiltration teams breaching exact locations. Finally, consider the production and sacrifice paradigm. Take the Krieg's Vitae Womb system, responsible in part for the Kriegers' mass conscription, the hypothesized Krieger cloning program, and mix in the Iron Warriors' chaos alchemy and their homunculava. More bodies, more weapons, more monsters. Total war in its ugliest form. Although horrifying in intention, the Union is cohesive by design. The foundations, the assault, and doctrinal imperviousness to loss align perfectly. It's not merely a meme. The quiet calculus of warfare, amplified by fanatical endurance and ideological corruption. From a tactical standpoint, this alliance would represent perhaps the most unassailable siege force ever assembled. If the Imperial fists and the Mordian Iron Guard are the immovable object, the Iron Warriors and the Chaos Core of Krieg are the unstoppable force. Tell me, who do you think would win? See you next time. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. And remember to click the link in the description or to scan the QR code on screen right now to download Star Trek Fleet Command. I'll see you out there. Behind every paragraph and reference in these videos, there's a mountain of research, editing, and more than a few burnt-out cogitators. That's where our patrons come in, with multiple tiers offering a variety of things, from exclusive chats in our Discord to personalized artwork created for our individual patrons. Every subscription keeps the machine spirit of the Astartes Anonymous YouTube channel appeased. And for our top-tier patrons, a display on the Wall of Honor at the end of each podcast. So if you're enjoying the content, please do consider taking a quick look at our Patreon. Thanks so much for watching.